Live streaming is on. All right, so we are streaming. Welcome, everybody. I'm sure we do not have much of an audience yet, but it's Talk Like a Pirate Day. And I'm Dread Pirate Drew. I'm here with Jolly Mitch DeVillo.
Ahoy.
And we are going to soon have a very special guest. And very, very much looking forward to that. In the meantime, we're just going to have a little chit chat until our guest joins us here in about 10 minutes. So stay tuned, and we will. Looks like I think we're going to have a couple of guests. Actually, is that right, Mitch?
That is correct. Very shortly, we will be joined by our very special guest, Marcus Rediker. And after Marcus spends a short time with us, we will be joined by former chair of Pirate Party International and Pirate Party of Canada, Bailey Lamont.
That is awesome. I am looking forward to both of our guests and any other guests that happen to show up in the meantime, in between or thereafter. We are trying to have a little bit of a. It's early for pirates. I get that. It's early in the morning, especially if you're West Coast or not anywhere on the Eastern Seaboard. It's early, so I get that. But this will, pardon me, this stream will be on our YouTube channel to rewatch. And if everything works out, hopefully we'll maybe get some. We'll get some clips out there to put some shorts out, and I'm hoping that maybe we can do that, and that would be pretty awesome. So you don't necessarily have to watch the whole thing, but or have to do it live because it will be available for rewatch, and I hope it is deserving of a rewatch. We're gonna try and make it that way. So yeah. How are you making out, Mitch?
Just posted the tweet, about to post the Twitter or the announcement to the Discord.
Awesome. So we're getting the message out that we are celebrating Talk Like a Pirate Day. And my philosophy on Talk Like a Pirate Day is everybody talks like a pirate. because pirates spoke pretty much every language across the world. Because it was a motley crew of ex Navy officers, French, Spanish, English. We have I think the Dutch were some of it, and then we also had we had former slaves, escaped slaves, some of them, and honestly, I think we're going to get into some of the politics of that then once Marcus joins us, and I am looking very much forward to that.
Sorry, and absolutely. I trying to make sure I have everything set up. My stand just give me one moment. Let me fix it.
Yeah, you're having looks like you're having a little stability issues there.
Don't worry, it's a quick fix. I see exactly what.
I think I need to upgrade my webcam. It's a couple years old, and I think it's still 720p. And well, you know what? It says it's 1080p, but I don't know. Whatever. Time to upgrade the sensor, anyways. So.
Well,
but yeah, what do you...
I have my I lean my phone up against my new AT&T internet box. So as soon as I get around to setting that up, I should be able to. I'll have a webcam set up. I'll have proper internet.
Yeah, that's the other side of us is what did Joe post today that was bad news? What's going on here? Did you see that?
Yes, I saw COSA has passed the House, and then the other one was about genetic patents, but I didn't get around to reading the article.
That one tripped me out. Like that's irritating. I don't think
Now, was this
You
in reference to the 23andMe debacle that happened the other day?
No, the 23andMe, uh, well, 23andMe is in a big time free fall. Like their like whole board resigned. Like it's they're in a mess. They're in bankruptcy court, I think, or in bankruptcy filing. But yeah, it was. I think but they also had a huge breach, right? Which I think
I
it led to a lot of it.
believe so. Well, that's dangerous to. And I guess what else could we have expected? I mean, it's not like any company ever has stuck around for a lifetime. So it's like when you give all these companies your DNA, and what was it, Ancestry or was it 23andMe that like BlackRock bought them out? So then like suddenly BlackRock had access to millions of people's DNA.
I think 23. I know 23andMe was bought, and then they're. I think it's where they're trying to go back private, which is where a lot of this resigning is
Hmm.
taking place. I mean, I don't know all the details, but I can tell you that having only two companies that really do what they do, creating a huge database of DNA that is frightening. Like it's Orwellian. I mean, this whole country, this whole world right now is so Orwellian. I I don't think George Orwell himself could even comprehend how Orwellian it is. Like you know, he talked about the telescreens and the microphones everywhere. Like we literally have all that right now and more because we carry a little mini one with us everywhere we go. It's um it's just not quite as overt as the 1984 scenario was, where everybody knew that you couldn't say certain things, or it would get picked up by uh you know uh I forget what did he call the secret police, but anyways, yeah, it's crazy, and nobody wants to go to room 101, so well.
What I always found interesting about like the concept of like you can't say certain things because they'll get picked up on because they're always listening. And then we turn around and put like Alexas in our house and be like,
Hmm.
okay, Google. And it's like, all right, so it's been listening the whole time, but as soon as you say,
Hmm.
okay, Google, it's going to respond to us.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, the newer Google ones have little switches that supposedly turn off the microphones, but I'm not sure that it actually does that. I mean,
That, you ever see, you ever have like an old microphone where it's supposedly off and you're trying to talk into it, and then the computer will give you a little notification saying your microphone is off? It's like,
hmm.
so you're hearing me
Hmm.
regardless. So you
Yeah,
know I'm
yeah,
trying to talk into it.
yeah, yeah. It's off, so that it's off to the point where it's not showing you that it's recording anything, but it sees that you're, yeah, like that, and that's it. That's the 10 microphone. I mean, literally, I have it one, two, three, right within. I've got at least three within, right of my my vicinity here, and there's one there, there's one there, there's one there, and there's two out there. Yeah, I mean, I'm full of them. I like the smart stuff, I do, but I also get that we're a surveillance state and it's everywhere, and this is also, it's also, I've been watching a lot of auditor videos lately, and I just can't. There are certain people that just can't understand that they're trying to make a point. The auditors are trying to make a point when people are freaking out that they're being recorded by some guy taking video. Well, most of these places that these guys go to are public places that have cameras all over the place to begin with. So what are you what where is the I don't no recording, no recording. I don't consent. Well, you're in public, pal. Then walk away. That's the other thing too, is people get so angry and then get in somebody's face. Don't record me. Stop recording me. Get out of here. Like you just gotta, blows my mind. So Anyways, yeah, uh, so we'll keep chugging on with the in the surveillance state. I don't think it's going to get any better. I mean, I don't see it getting better. The only thing that I see is getting better is that more people have their own controlled surveillance, so that you know we can bring it up against when the state tries to use their surveillance against us. We have our own that can maybe deal with that. And let's not even start talking about deep fakes and how bad they're getting.
Oh man, the AI is getting real intelligent really fast, and
It's getting good at doing what it's doing. Let's
it
put it that
is.
way.
And
Uh,
I don't know, haven't there been countless movies about shit like this and why that's dangerous?
mhm. Yeah,
But but I don't know. I guess for the sake of scientific advancement, let's just keep feeding the beast.
yeah. That I mean, there's been so the one that we really need to what we need to what's scary is AGI, the general intelligence, the artificial general intelligence, which is your classic um your classic data. Data's an artificial general intelligence, from Star Trek, you know. Um, but when it becomes self-aware, that's when it gets scary, because now then we have to answer other questions like, does it have rights? Is it a person? That sort of stuff, and that's a lot of stuff that science fiction has had a lot of talk about, is when artificial general intelligence becomes self-aware, or when it becomes something that can easily have a conversation with us, which we've got now, but it's still within a box. It's still in a little box. Um, Whereas when it has its own willpower and wants and needs that weren't programmed into it, and when it can improve itself on its own fruition, um it gets the idea itself to make improvements to itself instead of being told to do X, Y, or Z. That's when things get really interesting. And some people say that we're close to that, others say we're a long way from it. Honestly, I think it's just going to drop on us like a ton of bricks at some point, and we're gonna it's gonna be like mind blowing. It's gonna be like, oh well, I knew AI was a thing, but I didn't think it was that good, kind of a thing. And so there's scary times, man. We're talking about the crazy economics that we have right now. There are cracks all over the place. Things are crumbling to the ground. Um, and I don't know. I don't know what's.
You know what? I just want to, as odd as it sounds, and again, happy to talk like a pirate to everybody, but I do want to take this moment to give a shout out to another political party for seemingly having their eye on the future, and that's the transhumanists. Because even though typically you consider it's like extension is what they're going for, they're always looking at just advanced technologies and the technological advancement, and they're keeping their eye on it. And while at first you might look at it, and I know I certainly did, as like, oh, they're worried about science fiction quickly turns into just science. And I would like to just send my compliments to them, because they've been worried about AI for a little bit now, and I I just admire a party just the same way I admired the pirates for talking about copyright when no one else was. I admired the transhumanists for having their eyes fixed on the future. So just shout out to them.
Yeah, speaking of copyright, I've been really disappointed that that the only major candidate that's actively fighting copyright is the Orange Man, and because he just does whatever the hell he wants, right? So they've been using music, without permission, and things that this is where this is where this is where I start to go into, oh man, I don't I get, I don't want copyright. Like, I hate copyright. I think it's stupid, and especially some of the copyrights, like Isaac Hayes' copyright for the song that Trump was using for his outro. um you know I'm for making him stop using it, but at the same time, I'm like, I'm conflicted in this because I can't stand the man and he's such a fraud, and yeah. So it sucks. It sucks. I mean, it sucks that those are the choices that we have anyways. Like, that's the reality is we have the hardline prosecutor, or a man who's a complete fraud and felon. Like, what? How did we get here? That's what I want to know. How did we really get here? Like, somebody's playing a big trick on us that's running this simulation, and I'm not really digging it.
It does feel like a glitch. I hate to use the phrase glitch in the matrix because I think, people talk about the matrix like it's just life. I don't gel with it very well, but it does feel like a glitch in the matrix that the guy I saw get inducted into the 2013 WWE Hall of Fame class was running for president and won 3 years later. Like, it doesn't track. It shouldn't track, but
Yeah, no, it's all kayfabe though. Like, to me, that's what Trump is. Like, that is. I mean, and it doesn't surprise me at all that the McMahons are like good buddies of his. Like,
oh, no doubt. He put Vince McMahon's wife in his cabinet.
hmm I think she's still a big donor. I'm sure she
I,
is.
I believe so.
I'm sure she
I
is.
remember she ran for Senate twice in like 2008 and 2012 and lost both times. So naturally, though, because she's a big Republican donor and high up in the party supposedly or behind the scenes.
I just, and to me, this Republican Party has really. I mean, it's gone from like even as late as like the George W. Bush times. Like, you could. It seems like after George W. Bush, like when Obama came in, like, that they just went off the deep end. That they just lost all sense of decorum, even though they didn't have much before. But like, they've gone off the deep end, and now they've got this guy who I'm not even sure that he's really a Republican. Like, I don't think he even believes in most of the things that they want, other than helping rich people because he's a rich person, and being racist, which, he's an old man. Like, a lot of old men, a lot of old white men are either casually or overtly racist. I mean, I'm not, that's making a blanket statement, but I see it. I see guys in their 60s and 70s are, they're usually at least a little bit got it stuck in their head somewhere that, we can't have these, especially these immigrants. Blows. It's
Right,
ridiculous.
these cat eating immigrants. It's insane that this is the narrative being pushed right now.
And then on the flip side of it, so the cry is, we can't have immigrants because they're taking our jobs, and then they're also committing crimes and all this other stuff. But at the same time, JD Vance is out whining and complaining about people who don't have kids, like, because well, we need the workers. Well, you have a line of people coming from the South that want to come here, that are already that want to be workers. So what do you can't. It's like, yeah, we want to be isolationist and close our borders, and then force all of those people to have children, which is why we want to kill abortion. We want, um, and then we're proud of that. We're proud of that. We're proud of forcing people to procreate that don't necessarily want to, and we're proud of the fact that we're keeping out people that want to come here for a better life. Like there is nothing good. There's nothing good about what they're doing. Everything that they're doing is protecting a small, privileged class of people. And I don't know how middle class America can buy that. How can you get on board with that when it's clearly just going to harm you? You know in your heart of hearts it's going to harm you unless you're so racist or so xenophobic that you just can't have we can't have we can't have people from other countries here. Like,
Well, you know what? I think it really, people don't want to talk about the uncomfortable truth when talking about like a party switch, quote unquote. But was the Southern strategy not to target the racism of whites in the South and get them to vote Republican based against their economic interests based on racial uh, preference and just racism in general? Just that in 1962, Ole Miss had a racial riot, a student protest, because a black man was admitted into the school. And then in 68, the South was voting Republican. Like, there has to be an uncomfortable conversation that has to be had, that the Republican Party of the Nixon era targeted the racism of the South, which still existed and still exists to this day, and said that's going to be our sticking point. The party of Lincoln said we're going to get Southern racists in the South on our team.
and then later on, we have David Duke come along, right? Like, as a big deal. Like, what? The Grand Wizard of the KKK. Well, great. That's that's not anything I want to be associated with. Like,
And mind you, any Republican higher up can say, we acknowledge that David Duke is supporting us, and we want to say we do not accept his support, and he's not a part of the Republicans. We don't want his support. We don't want anyone that supports David Duke around. But they don't say that. They're more than happy to bring him in. They're more than happy to say, yeah, run for a Congress seat in Louisiana, like he did when Trump ran for president. And I'm sure what emboldened David Duke to do that? What made the Grand Wizard say, you know what, now's my time? It clearly saw Trump running and says, you know what, now's a better time than ever.
Yeah, I don't. I have a hard time with people. Just like I said earlier, I think a lot of it is generational. I think a lot of these boomers are casually racist, if not full on, raging racists. And it shows in that, you know, it shows in how, I mean, we've had racists on both sides of the aisle in Congress and in the White House. I mean, come on, Lyndon Johnson was a raging racist.
Oh my God, absolutely.
He was, yeah, and I don't know that necessarily has to do with him being from Texas, but there is just I think I really think it's generational. That we don't, those of us born in the 70s or later, didn't have that time where, growing up there was like a big separation of races. Like,
100%. That we were lucky enough to grow up in a desegregated United States. But my parents, at least for a small time in their lives, were born into a United States where legal segregation based on your race was permitted in this country. And again, I don't think Lyndon Johnson's not racist because he comes from Texas. He's racist because he came from a segregated Texas. He grew up in a time when white and black folk couldn't drink from the same water fountain. Again, that's the example that gets used because it needs to be shown how ridiculous it all was. That they could drink from the same public water fountain.
Yeah, now we just don't have water fountains.
Yeah. Now they all have lead in it, so we can't.
Yeah, well, even if so we don't have water fountains. We just have we just have vending machines for bottled water. So I mean, there's your capitalism for you. Um,
Which is almost incredible. That says, okay, if we can't have one class of people above another, then you're all going to be plebs.
mhm.
But
Yeah, I think it was, I don't remember if that was the handicapper general. Uh, I'm trying to think of what the name of, I can't remember the name of the story, but it was making everybody equal, and they would, instead of so if somebody had a if somebody had a handicap, then somebody else would be given, like, everybody wears heavy glasses. Um, was that Vonnegut? It might have been Vonnegut. It's a short story, and there, where everybody was handicapped, and artificially, so that everybody was equal. And it's kind of silly, but I mean, to some extent, that stuff happens, and it's ridiculous. So, yeah. Anyway, we're talking like pirates.
we sure are.
We're talking like pirates. On Talk Like a Pirate Day. And yeah,
And I do want to apologize because after 15 minutes, I do want to point out the obvious that I do think we may have been
we may
left at
have.
the altar.
Well, that's okay. We can try
However,
again.
yeah, we could always try again later. Maybe the schedule didn't work out, or I did see because I got read receipts for my email. It was opened a little bit ago, so maybe he didn't see the email last night to the link until.
Okay. Well,
Whatever the case may be, I can't hold it against him. He's a busy man. For him to
yeah.
even say he could provide 30 minutes, A, shows how busy he is, and B, you know what? I appreciate,
I'm gonna say it for the record that Marcus, we appreciate you even taking the time to respond to us. And any other time you would like to come on and talk to us about pirates, and pirate culture, because that is Marcus's jam. And we can talk about how that comes into play here in how, what we can take away from that. So anytime you want to come on, let us know. Like, we will do our best to try and accommodate that, and even if it is only for a few minutes, we do appreciate it. So yeah, well, there it is. I mean,
absolutely. So, even if the idea that we're a political party may perhaps be what the hesitation is, I'm not 100% sure. However, at the end of the day, we're just pirates. So
and
we are admirers of your work as well. So
yeah,
it's no offense taken. At the end
and
of the day, Villains of All Nations is still the book. So
yeah, I like that. I like Enemies of All Nations, Villains of All Nations. I like um, yeah, I am Outcasts of All Nations. I think is another one of those. It's kind of an offshoot of the Villains of All Nations. I like the Outcasts of All Nations because I think that's really what a lot of pirates were, is outcasts, you know. And yeah, I think it would be a very good stuff. And we have questions. So anybody else, we do have I have a Google Doc. I know Google sucks. But I have a Google Doc in our Discord under the events committee. That if we do have a chance to get Marcus on again, there's some questions. If you want to put some questions in there, so that we have them for the record, that when we get some time, if you want to contribute to those, that would be awesome. So
absolutely.
yeah. So yeah, I am not looking forward to this election. I mean, I just
I gotta tell you, I was too young to vote in 2012, but I don't remember the same amount of feeling dread like I have for the last three elections. But here we are. And I don't think it's just Trump, genuinely.
mm,
Because I'm a little worried that the Republican Party is just this now. So even if we lose Trump, whoever the next candidate they put up, it's not going to be Doug Burgum from North Dakota. It's
No,
gonna
it's JD Vance.
it's gonna. You're right. Exactly. That is very clear cut about what it's become. I saw a tweet. Someone said you really don't hear much about QAnon from the Republicans anymore. I wonder if that went away. And someone pointed out, goes, no, that just became the Republican Party. The same way that you don't say like, oh, I wonder what happened to the Tea Party movement. Well, yeah, they became the Republicans.
Yeah, that was kind of like the first step of radicalizing the Republican Party. And don't get me wrong, as a former libertarian, I agreed a lot with the Tea Party, but I can tell you that I was at a rally for the Tea Party, and there were a ton of people there that were in white supremacist gear and just casually throwing around racial slurs, and it was really disturbing. I had to get out of there. Like, I did not. I'm a white guy. Like, I look like those people. Like, so, like, it. But it was disturbing to me that this was just casually being thrown around at this event, and in the Lehigh Valley, that I couldn't. I'm like, okay, guys, like, I see your principles of what you say are your principles, but then yet here's all this other stuff that you're throwing in when we're here at this meeting that you just don't want to say out loud to the general public. And I was like, no, the Tea Party is not. This is not what it wants to be. What it should be. Um, yeah, I mean, low taxes, low government, smaller government. That was, yeah, that sounds pretty good. But then when you add in all this xenophobia and racism, like, what are you talking about? And then big, put up a big wall so that we isolate ourselves. I don't know. I don't know what's.
Which again is the real shame of what happened in the Libertarian Party, because it's like when I first found it, I'm like, oh, you guys are for low taxes and low government intervention, but you're not fucking crazy racists.
Mm-hmm.
Until they did become crazy racist, at least
Yeah,
New Hampshire. You
don't get
know,
me wrong. There definitely were people that were crazy racists in the Libertarian Party, but they were not. They weren't pushing that agenda. You just knew that, oh, that's so and so. He's a piece of shit. That's a. But then it became more and more and more about that stuff, and then it became even more authoritarian, which to me is completely antithetical to what the Libertarian Party once stood for. And then stuff like, hating all the LGBT, getting it was, so it's not, so now it's not just, now it's homophobia on top of it, like, and transphobia, and that's, if you think you're fighting for freedom and you don't believe in letting people be the people that they are and letting them live their lives peacefully, you're not for freedom. You're for that. That's a freedom for me, but not for thee, kind of thing. And I just, that, I'm sorry, that's not what living in a free society is about. If you're going to oppress other people, no.
and on top of that, like the calls for, and again, this is, I want to kind of be a little fair to the Libertarian Party, because while it's not the whole one, this is definitely true of like New Hampshire's Libertarian Party.
Ugh.
Just the calls for segregation was good, actually, and we should segregate ourselves based on our beliefs, and if we believe in racial superiority, that's fine. You're insane. That's insane. And it's antithetical to this country. That is not what this country was built on. And people say, oh, it was rich white slave owners running this country in the beginning as a criticism. These people are saying, yeah, we need to get back to that. And that's absurd.
I don't know that anybody actually was any of the founding fathers. Like, Jefferson was problematic. Don't get me wrong. I love what Jefferson wrote. I love his idealism. I love everything about what he put out there as a theoretical, um, and I'm not going to defend him at all when it comes to him owning slaves, except for one bit. The guy was terrible with money, and um, the one problem with Jefferson freeing his slaves is that I'm not sure that he'd be allowed to free his slaves because they're part of his property. And this, again, not defending this practice at all, but um, debt collectors could go after that, and not let and so I don't know if this is what was going through his head or not. I'm just saying that the guy was heavily in debt, like massively in debt. Um, and keeping people close to you. And I'm not saying he was good to his slaves, and I don't know. I don't know. I wasn't there, so I can't say. But there is a little bit of a defense to say that he probably couldn't actually free his slaves. Um, until it actually came to being part of the law. But yeah, they were problematic. I mean, our founding fathers were problematic. I mean, don't get me wrong, and one of my other favorites is Ben Franklin, but I mean, he loved his women, right? Like, he was a little problematic with that. He's a partier. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with that myself, but
Yeah, listen, he was a 70-year-old man who went to France to fucking do diplomacy. So I can't knock him for that.
yeah,
I
yeah.
genuinely refuse to knock him for that.
So I mean,
But the founding fathers, they weren't perfect, but that's why you have to admire the ones that were more noble than others versus say, oh well, you can say like Washington enslaved and Jefferson enslaved, and you could look past it, even though that's to me that's a little difficult to do because yeah, sure, it's for the times, but there were plenty of people, especially in the North, that didn't own slaves.
oh, and
That
there was absolutely discussion of slavery and it being a thing. When once we've won the war and we have our independence, how to deal with that. I mean, there were plenty of people that knew that the practice of slavery was wrong, um, and we're pushing to do away with it. It just it's one of those things where it's like there's a lot of unintended consequences to ending a massive ending a massive it is an economy. I mean, that was the whole South's economy, more or less.
and it
So I mean,
really blame should be pointed this where I can point to. I want to say this is a capitalist problem in one of the earliest cases in American history where you could say this is a capitalist problem where their economy wasn't necessarily. I mean, yes, slavery was a big part of their economy, but the South really started kicking into high gear with the invention of the cotton gin
mhm.
when it suddenly became easier. Because before the cotton gin, they thought, listen, this practice is probably dying out any ways. Let's just kick it down the road until we can, get rid of it. Until someone said, no, I can invent something to make this easier. And then it became so profitable they couldn't do away with it. Or they refused to because there were men too powerful to lose this cash
Mhm.
cow that they've now inherited. So, uh, man,
I mean,
it's an abomination. It's a true stain on a history of a country that was meant to be free, the land of the free, with all men created equal. Uh, but and again, uh, death to tyrants always. But shout out to Abe Lincoln, who, in his attempt to preserve this more perfect union, did free the Southern slaves. Uh, and so
another, just as a note, another problematic individual because he did suspend the writ of habeas corpus during the war. So we've got issues there too, but
yeah, no, there was no perfect leader, and I think you have to. I, so I think that's also the do you judge the characteristics of a leader based on things that they, in their opinion, viewed that they had to do? Do you view them based on what they were like in their personal life and not how they led, which would be the case for Jefferson, for
Jefferson,
example?
yeah, absolutely.
versus Abe Lincoln, who was a very noble man and did the most noble thing in American history, but did it under admittedly tyrannical methods. And you could say he was in war, and in wartime you have to take on wartime responsibilities, but he was also in a civil war.
Mm-hmm.
So he's doing this upon his own people.
Mm-hmm.
And he never viewed the seceding states as, well, they've left, they're not my citizens anymore. He viewed this as, well, the Union has 13 rebelling states.
Right. Yeah. He looked at it as the country was in a state of rebellion, and not that it was two separate.
Yes. And I actually think it's a really good case for the loser writing history, that we now view the South as, yeah, well, that was the Confederacy and that was its own country, and we had to defeat the Confederacy and get them back. We really could just view this as, well, they were rebelling, and we don't view it anymore. And I feel like that's a big case for like the Daughters and Sons of Liberty, or the Confederacy rather. Like, that has to be their doing. Did I lose you?
All right. Sorry about that. I think the problem is that I think we went over our hour.
Oh, is that okay?
I think that's what happened. So I'm gonna check on the stream, and making sure that we're still streaming. I think we are. I think we're still streaming. My apologies, everybody. I wasn't keeping an eye on the time, and I just got kicked right the hell out. Yeah, it says we're still streaming. So, and I we're still streaming on the. Oh, stop it! My computer is angry with me. So, yeah, okay. So we're back. We're on. We're good.
Perfect. Bailey just said she will be joining us in a couple minutes.
Okay.
So we will have a guest today.
We'll have a guest. Okay, excellent. So to continue the conversation about the founding fathers, and like Lincoln's, everybody's problematic at some level or another. I mean, oh, damn it! Now I all this gets me all. That losing the stream has kind of screwed me up. I had a good point to make, and now I don't know what it is. I'll have to remember it now. But oh, I know what I was going to say. Honestly, what I think this is, and I think you made a good point about that it being a capitalist issue. I think we have our guest.
Yes.
Our guest has arrived. But I think it's a capitalist issue because later on, when we went to wage labor, when it's that's the thing, we had here in Pennsylvania, we had a huge problem with corporate overlords completely, oh yeah, we'll pay you in scrip. We're not even going to pay you in actual money, put you in debt, and if you die, we throw your family out on their face too. And that really led to some of the first labor unions, I mean, it started pretty violently, and I don't really condone that. But at the same time, what are you going to do when a company owns you? Basically, that's essentially what was happening in the mines here in Pennsylvania, and mostly with the Irish. It wasn't all Irish. There were also some, I think, Polish and other Eastern European people that were caught up in all that crap. But yeah, it's I think ultimately we as pirates definitely should always be on the side of labor, and I think unions are the best way to support that. I mean, and again, like we said about our founding fathers, unions are heavily flawed, especially the big ones. You know, they're they're flawed and corrupt too. I mean, I'm not saying that there isn't a problem with labor unions, especially as big as they are and as much money as goes through them. But we've got to have some mechanism to fight back against corporate overlords. And yeah, anyways.
Absolutely.
So welcome, Bailey.
No, this actually
Oh,
is
this is
not.
not Bailey. No,
This is
Bailey. It's
not
just
Bailey.
B.
This
Sorry.
is
Okay.
uh, now. If you want to introduce yourself, the floor is yours. But I believe this is a member of the Pirate Party of Brazil, which
Okay.
I had put out the invitation. We have a Pan American initiative since the Pirate Party of the United States does believe in Pan Americanism. So we have a little chat that we try to keep the pirates from the Americas together. And I put the invite out saying if anyone would like to join us for today, that they're more than welcome to. And especially I reached out and said if any member of the Pirate Party of Brazil would like to come, since Twitter was just banned in your country, I thought that might be a good topic of discussion. This is Bailey. Hello, Bailey.
Hey.
Uh, so I was just giving the introduction for I believe that Fred is your name, right? Or would you prefer just being called B?
Yes, that's precisely that.
Perfect.
All right.
And then joining us then would be Bailey, who is the former chair of the Pirate Party International and Pirate Party of Canada. And thanks for coming. Thanks for joining us. Both of you, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for joining us, everybody.
Thanks for having us. Thanks for putting all of this together.
Of course. Happy Talk Like a Pirate Day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Happy Talk Like a Pirate Day, guys.
So that's what we've been doing. We've been talking like pirates. We've been talking about some American history, a little bit of labor history, and we're kind of talking. I don't know. What piratey issues are going on in each of your nations? You know, what are you dealing with? Obviously, we're dealing with this stupid election. That is that is like, should I shoot myself or should I hang myself? That's what it is. So yeah, what's going on in you're in Canada, right? Is that correct, Bailey?
Yeah.
So
I'm in Canada.
How are things in Canada?
Well, first of all, you mentioned your election, and definitely a lot of us up here are really feeling for you guys because it's basically just not a good choice that you have to make either way. Yeah. Uh, so, as your neighbors from the north, we feel for you guys quite a bit. And, we definitely, a lot of us up here, we care a lot about what happens in the US, not just because we're right there. And, Canada and the US have been allies for a very long time. We're very close allies. Not just because of that, but, it's just, I think everybody around the world can kind of see what's going on in the US and with your election and just with everything. And yeah, like if you have a brain, if you have any shred of humanity, like you're going to have empathy for the American people who have to, like, it's like you said, like, do you want to shoot yourself or hang yourself? Like, that's the choice. So yeah, I think a lot of people just really like feel for that. And I don't think it's that different in a lot of other countries either. Like, I think in a lot of places when there's elections happening, it's like you don't really have like a good option to vote for. It's like there might be lesser evils, there might be options that are maybe a little better, but ultimately not that good. And it's a similar thing here with our liberals and conservatives. Like, you guys have your Dems versus Republicans. You know, it's going to be one or the other, basically. And it's the same here with the two-party system, and with us, it's our liberals and conservatives. And right now, the liberals are in power. It's looking like our next election, it's probably going to be the conservatives. So now our election's not till 2025, though. So we got some time here, but yeah. I don't want to.
Yeah, so what if I was somewhere else in the world, I would be worried and probably laughing my ass off at of what American politics has become. I don't know how do you guys, is that something you guys see too? Is it like because it looks like it's a caricature of itself to me. Like U.S. politics is a caricature of politics in general, like and it seems like to me like it's very much like a comedy. It's like a Saturday Night Live sketch half the time. Like I think some of the old Saturday Night Live sketches are probably practically ready to come to life now. So yeah, it's, I guess that's what I would think, but how do you guys see it?
Well, here in Brazil, we have someone that really repeats Trump. No, that was the last president, Bolsonaro. He was just playing by like Trump rules. But we are having municipal elections now, and we have those kind of characters, no, that use the same kind of Steve Bannon techniques, and the same kind of moral panic speech.
Do you guys have the same kind of xenophobia stuff in Brazil that the United States has, or?
We have a little with the Venezuelans, no, because of the crisis in Venezuela, there are a lot of Venezuelans that are going down to Brazil, and of course, like we don't have such organized welfare state, so they are causing some troubles in the north states, and there's some xenophobia against Venezuelans, but it's not the same, but that exists. It's more something like against the communists, and communists are everyone. No, everyone is communist, even the ones that are not communists. But we are looking forward because you know that the Department of States have a very important rule in Brazilian politics. So we are a little bit afraid of that if Trump wants that he will give an impulse for the militaries and for the last president that have tried a coup like Trump, exactly like Trump have done in January 6th. They tried that 2 years ago in January 8th, and they are not successful. But here they really have the support of the militaries, no? And as the Pirate Party, no, we tried to create a party, but we were not able to collect the signatures. It was the old system. No, it was 8 years ago that we asked for the license to have a party in Brazil, and now we have a new way to collect the signatures online. But besides, we have transformed the party in something that is the Aaron Swartz Institute, and we are acting promoting hacking reunions, promoting the pirate ideology through this institute. I will put the link here in the chat.
Oh yes, thank you. I will put that. I will try to get that put into the link for in the stream then. I think that is always because of third parties in the U.S. being so disenfranchised and being so pushed out by the rules that we have. I think that's great that you now have the ability to do electronic signatures. That would be amazing if we could do that here in the States. I just don't see it happening anytime soon, but that sounds like a great reform. But so I guess what I was saying is having an institute that is more like your think tank, that is just more of an advocacy group. There is definitely an argument that I've had over where should we be more of an advocacy group, since actually actively being a political party is so difficult and requires so much money and so many volunteers to really get it going. I think a lot of the time we're acting as an advocacy group here, as even though we still call ourselves the Pirate Party, that we are basically, more than actively political, in the political system, that we are more of an advocacy group. And it's gotta, and spreading the word anyway, I think, is a good thing. So.
Absolutely. And you mentioned, B mentioned signatures being a difficult thing with Pirate Party. That's what ultimately like took us down here in Canada. Pirate Party Canada getting deregistered. That was like the main reason why we got deregistered years ago, was because we had to collect these signatures. It's like, if you're a registered political party in Canada, you have to collect, it's not even that high of a number. It's only 200. But you have to collect those every 3 years or so. And our last year being registered, when we had to collect these signatures again, it was just so much work to try and get people to print them off and sign them and send them to us. And people just like wouldn't do that. And like we were telling people, like telling our members, like, we got to do this or else we're going to get deregistered, and just explaining all of that. And like, it was still like, we couldn't get the signatures. And, we got multiple extensions from Elections Canada. Like we were like going hard trying to get these signatures for months and months and months, and it just wasn't happening. So like digital signatures here would be amazing too. That I don't know why that's not a thing already here or in the US, especially with like how everything else has become digital, right? You can do like, online banking's been a thing for a while, but for example, it's like you can sign like banking documents and stuff online now, and like that kind of thing. So you would think, they would do something similar with political parties collecting their signatures to stay registered. And it just really speaks to the difficulty of being a small party and staying registered as a small party in a country like Canada or even the US, where it is a two-party system. Being a third party, being a smaller party is not easy. You're not really welcomed into the landscape of everything, right? You're kind of just seen as this annoyance and this, like, oh, you're stealing votes from whichever mainstream party they want to, that particular person wants to vote for. And, it's like you're stealing votes from this party and you're just basically handing over your vote to this other terrible party. And I feel like for a lot of us, we don't really go out and vote for anything anymore. It's more like you're going out to vote against whoever you think is the most evil person running or evil party running. It's like here, it's like you don't really go out and vote for anything. You're voting against the Conservatives or against the Liberals, right? And it's not really like, I'm going to go out and vote and exercise my democratic right to vote for, who I believe in and what values I believe in. And, that's just like not really a thing anymore. It's just like, oh, you got to vote for this guy to keep the other guy out. And yeah, I feel like it's that way in a lot of places. And it's really sad that that's not that democracy is just going out and voting anyway, right? It's a lot more than that to begin with, but it's really, I think it's really just really sad that when those elections do come around, it's like not really a time where people are, feeling, some people maybe, but it's like for a lot of people, it's just kind of this depressing time when, everything's just like a spectacle. It's like you're just watching a show, you're watching people perform to try and get you to vote for them. And that's like really all it is. It's not really like voting for something.
One of the major candidates in the United States he had his resurgence as a reality TV star.
Yeah.
So, I think honestly, a lot of I would say probably everything that you just talked about, Bailey, I think is by design. I think it's by design by those elites in the major controlling parties of all of our countries. They don't want competition. They want the monopoly or a duopoly, just for the just for the image of it being having competition. To the illusion of choice is something that we see that I feel like it is a lot. Um, and then these rules that keep third parties out, that keep independent and third party candidates off the ballot because you have to have a certain amount of support. Like in the U.S., I mean, I assume a lot of places around the world we have electronic voting machines, right? So it's just a computer that your touch screen, and I think it's ridiculous that there's any restrictions at all for getting your name on the ballot.
Mhm.
Like, okay, maybe there's $100 fee to get your name on the ballot because there's a little tiny bit of program. You know, you have to actually somebody has to type that in there.
Yeah, the bureaucracy part of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But I mean, I could see a small fee being a barrier, but like thousands or hundreds of signatures.
And how
I think we should be back. Go ahead. You were talking about what you needed to get in Brazil.
yeah, the problems in Brazil is like that. Like you need to have a percentage of the electoral distributed by 5 regions in the country. So you need to have
You have to have people everywhere.
national-wide. Yeah,
Mhm.
you have to have a very big structure. And now we are having problems here in the pirate movement because of this the prohibition of X, no X Twitter, because there are people here that defends the freedom because we are pirates, so we defend pirates, and the blockage are against pirate sites, most of it. So if we are against those blockages, can't be in favor of blocking X. But what happened is that Elon Musk is really tweeting about Brazilian politics and attacking a Brazilian Supreme Court judge. So we are having very hard discussions in the Brazilian Pirate Party about that.
I would like to formally apologize to the people of Brazil for Elon Musk. I know he's not really ours, but I would just like to apologize just to say that we don't like him very much either. There was a time when he wasn't very political that it was like, oh, that guy's doing some cool stuff.
Yeah.
And now it's like, yeah, he's too close to the higher ups in the Republican Party, and he's just, I mean, there's a reason why people, X is so full of people that are it's just terrible. I don't like X. I don't use it very much. I try to stay away from it, because I just run into people that are just so full of hate and just comes across, and you can't have a conversation there. I mean, in my opinion. But
no, it's unfortunately X has basically become Nazi.com. That's essentially like what it is now. And it's a shame because I mean, it's never been a perfect place to begin with, right? I mean, there's always been assholes there. Sorry, am I allowed to swear on the stream?
You can swear, yeah. We're not monetized or anything, and we don't have it. We say it's not safe.
That's true. Yeah. No, it's there's always been bad people there, and there's always been issues, but it's definitely like since Elon Musk took over, it's gotten so much worse, and it's really like really messed up because he calls himself this like free speech warrior, and he's like this free speech absolutist apparently, right? But then like if you express views that he personally doesn't like, then he's going to censor you. It's like, I think he said something about when people started calling Republicans weird. like when that became a thing where like everybody was like referring to them as weird because it was making them so mad and it was funny, then like Elon said something like, if people are going to start using weird as a slur towards conservatives, then like he was going to like ban people who were saying weird. And it's just, this is our great free speech warrior, right? Like this is, yeah, like
yeah,
The first guy that he banned was that one that had a Twitter account where he puts the places where he goes with his jet. No,
The
his
flight
airplane.
tracker, yes.
The flight
Oh,
tracker,
yeah.
exactly. It was
The
Yeah.
publicly available information that this
Yeah.
guy was simply just tweeting out. He decided, nope, can't do that. Mind you, before he banned it outright, he offered to buy the Twitter account from him for like $5,000. The guy that's worth, that's it. That's all he offered.
Now, see, that's
And rightfully, the guy's like, no, pay up or I'm going to keep doing this.
Yeah.
And he said, all right, I'm going to ban you.
Oh my God. Yeah.
did he
see,
go,
like,
did he
he's
go
a big
somewhere else?
crazy.
I hope maybe that would be, you know, it still have like elonmusktracker.com or something. He should probably pick that up. But I think Elon Musk is a good example of what what Mitch and I were talking about earlier, which is a lot of these Republicans or I would just say all these right wingers think that money equals freedom to them,
Yeah.
and that they can do whatever they want and step on whoever they want once they have money. Money equals power, and that it doesn't matter what they do because they have the money, they make the rules. That's what they think. And I think there's a lot of people that don't have money that have dreams of having money and being able to do all of these terrible things that, you know, the billionaires now are getting away with. And so that's why they support them. And it's like you're stepping on your own. You're stepping on your own feet doing that. You know.
Yeah, it's like the people who thought Trump was like a working class hero, right? It's like, no, like, dude's literally like from the 1%. Like, he doesn't care about you being poor and working class and struggling to pay a rent, and like he doesn't give a fuck.
No.
I've never met a working class individual who was able to get a small loan of $1 million from their parents.
Literally.
That's not a working class man.
No, and yet you get these people who are like, yeah, Trump's there for the working class. He's there for the people. And it's like, no. And I mean, I understand the criticism of like the mainstream Democrats in that regard too, right? I mean, they're also very detached and very privileged and very much in that, like, in the machine, right? And not wanting to let go of power. But like, yeah, when you get these right wingers who are saying that like Trump is their hero because like, you know, he's not from the establishment and he's like fighting for the people. And it's like, Trump is the establishment. Literally, like he is the establishment.
Right. Like, sorry, the behind the scenes came up front, but that doesn't mean that behind the scenes isn't part of the show. Like,
yeah.
You know, you mentioned it earlier, talking about how it doesn't feel like we're voting for somebody. It's more like we're voting against somebody. And there's actually a particular method. I think it's the Peter Pan method or the Robin Hood method. I can't exactly remember exactly what it's called. But the Democratic Party will fund the candidate from the opposition, the most radical one, with the anticipation of if the most unreasonable in their eyes, rises up, they could point to them and say, look how radical and crazy he is. Aren't we the level-headed ones? You need to vote for us.
Yeah, well, that's what's happening, isn't it?
It happened. They funded Trump. There have already been leaks that show that the Hillary Clinton campaign made sure that the Trump campaign was pushed on news media and news outlets, hoping that, see how crazy he is? Clearly, they wouldn't vote for him over me when, even if Donald Trump was the most unpopular candidate in United States history, the second most unpopular candidate statistically was Hillary Clinton.
Mm-hmm.
So you had, it did become people voting against somebody, but it wasn't voting for you versus the Trump team. You pushed him, and now they're voting against you, and they're voting for Trump.
Yeah.
Whether, you know, I don't like to admit this, but half the country fucking loves the guy.
Yeah.
And guess what? The Democrats did not love Hillary. Whether they, as much as they want to say like, oh no, she was ours, if they were serious about it, they would have put up Bernie Sanders. And I say that in
Yep.
retrospect.
Yep.
Because clearly there were two outsiders from the machines, not outsiders, but from the party machine, we'll say. Whereas Trump put himself forward, and the Republicans said, "Well, he's leading the polls. We have to accept him." The Democrats said, "No, we're a private business. We could put forward whoever we want as our candidate, and we're not going to pick Bernie." And it cost them. It cost us 3 Supreme Court justices.
Yeah.
So.
And the Democrats did the same thing this year.
They
canceled the primary, basically.
Yeah.
They did. They do it not just at the federal level, but they do it at the state level. In 2022, now mind you, I'm a big fan of my Governor Pritzker. I think he's phenomenal. He's affable. And now mind you, he's a little corrupt, as is every Illinois Democrat. I can't. What am I supposed to do? Deny that? But the Democratic Party of Illinois funneled money into the Republican candidate Darren Bailey, because Darren Bailey was a nut job. And the mayor of the second largest city in Illinois, who was a black Republican, they feared. They're like, he's a little more level-headed than Darren Bailey. People are listening to his complaints. So they pushed forward Darren Bailey, and Darren Bailey won the primary handily, and then lost the general to Pritzker by, Pritzker pulled 55% or whatever. He wasn't going to lose. But it just goes to show that they still, even in a state where it's a comfortable Democratic state, and JB was not getting unseated, they weren't taking that risk, and they decided to push forward a radical candidate, which, sure, it might take the left-wing voters and some moderate voters and say, okay, you know what, this is crazy. I am just going to vote for JB. It radicalizes a Republican base that was going to vote Republican regardless. And then when you show them the most radical Republican and say, look at your candidate, they're going to hear that candidate and go, yeah, fuck yeah. Actually, Darren Bailey's right about everything. Chicago should get kicked out of Illinois. And it's like, you're insane. Even though that one I do kind of agree with. You're insane.
I think honestly that these last couple of elections here in the U.S. anyways should be evidence enough for people to understand that respectability politics is not winning politics. And then on the other side is when we're talking about hating, voting out of fear or voting out of hate. The ads on television, the ones that are the least regulated, are the attack ads. You can take out an attack. Anybody can take out an attack ad and only have to say make up a fake company. That all they do is take out attack ads. People for whatever. You just make something up. Make yourself an LLC and then start running attack ads. It doesn't matter how much money you spend. And I think that's one of the biggest problems with the whole. They always talk about campaign finance reform, and there are some really ridiculous regulations, but they're not practical. Nothing is actually stopping somebody from spending hundreds of millions of dollars on the presidential election, and I think that's just ridiculous. In order to win an election, like even to win a congressional seat in a state, you're talking like $1 million+ to spend on an election, and that's for a 2-year seat. It's insane how much money is being spent on politics, and it's all because that it's all lobbying, and it's all all your corporate buddies. Hey, well, you do me favors, I'll spend money on your campaign. You do me favors when you're in. Is it any wonder that we're a capitalist freaking nightmare here?
It's incredible how crafty you can get. Legalized corruption by just calling it lobbying. As if, hey, I'm going to pay you to pass this law. Do me a favor. Here's $10,000. As if that's not fucking blatant corruption. But hey, I filed it, so it's all good.
Yeah. There's transparency, sort of. Yeah,
Right. We're gonna show the public how corrupt we are, but we're not fixing that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Now, B, can I ask you? I do believe Brazil is a multi-party country, is it not? You guys don't have the same two-party system that we do.
Yeah, here we have something like in the National Congress, 15 parties. No, we have two big ones. No, there is the Liberal Party. There is the party where the ex-president Bolsonaro is now. That from 500 deputies, they have 90. And there's the Workers' Party, no, there is PT, Partido dos Trabalhadores. There is the party where the actual president is, that is Lula, that have 62, 65. And then we have all the others, 350 deputies distributed by those other 10 parties, no? Each of them have like 20 deputies, 20 representatives. No, I think the word would be that. And we have in the municipal elections lots of parties, lots. I think officially Brazil have more than 50 parties recognized. And here we don't have private funds in the election. All the funds come from an electoral fund that came from the taxes, and they are distributed in the proportion that the parties have in the local parliaments and in the national parliament.
So, what you just mentioned that there's a public fund for the elections. Now, in the
Yes.
United States, it was decided by the Supreme Court about 14 years ago that money is free speech. And we can't limit how much money gets put into elections because that's limiting free speech, which is insane. But I'm trying to wrap my head around what you just said. There's no like if you saw a candidate and you said, "Man, I want to throw him $25." You couldn't do it. You couldn't. There's no public donations to political candidates.
Yeah, what happened here is that like 10 years ago, we have a very big scandal of corruption. And what used to happen is companies used to be able to donate. No, private companies were able to donate to campaigns, to candidates. And what they do is that they won contracts with the governance, and then they would donate a part of these contracts in legal money to the campaigns. So then we have a woman president, was Dilma Rousseff, that was knocked down, and then we have a reform, and they create this electoral fund. And we just can have persons, no physical persons, donations to campaigns. They can donate as much as 10% of the taxes that they have paid the year before the election. But if the candidate is a very rich person, he can donate 100% of his money to his own campaign. What happened is we have some figures that are very important and rich persons that are financing their own campaigns. And we have this celebrity thing. Now the candidates, a lot of celebrity persons that have been in the Big Brother TV show campaign, and of course, no, because now campaign is just entertainment. Here in my city of São Paulo, now we have a leading candidate. There's somebody that came from nowhere, but he is one of those guys that is a coach that sells courses online, and he's very entertainment. We had a fight in the debate last week where people took chairs and threw in each other during the debate, and that's very entertainment. And it's bad because the media covers that, and it has a lot of attention, and so it kind of also it feeds itself, this system. So we do not discuss propose, we do not discuss public policies, we discuss just the person of the candidate in what he has done.
I think there's a lot of parallels there. What we're seeing. I mean, hell, I mean, he's talking about reality TV stars becoming, getting prominent in politics. And well, there's Trump is a reality TV star who, got famous for firing people. I mean, and that's what he did in half of his first term as president was firing people and just doing it in a very loud and boisterous manner and making sure everybody knew that so and so was fired. But yeah, I don't know how to solve. I don't know how to solve the money in politics issue. It is an issue. If you go completely publicly funded, then to me, I feel like government is just going to put up even higher barriers to getting on the ballot. Because if you get on the ballot, then then if you get funding because you're a legit candidate because you're on the ballot, then oh well, we don't really want to give every Joe Schmo money that might have crazy ideas like the mainstream people. But I think honestly with our electronic systems that we have today, we should get rid of the primary and just do ranked choice voting and make the bar very low to get on that list. And there's no excuses anymore. We have an electronic system. It's an electronic ballot. It's not about printing it. Just everybody should be on there. And I think we should go to do. And I am not a scholar on ranked choice voting, so I know there are a couple of different methods, and certain ones are better than others. But I'm sure we should easily be able to go to a system that is where the bar is low to get on the ballot, to want to run for something. Because I see that in local elections, especially local elections here in Pennsylvania. We have a hard time getting. We don't even have competitive elections a lot of times. And there are a lot of times when there isn't even a candidate on the ballot for specific things. There's a lot of positions that go unfilled, and that's really just because it's difficult to get on the ballot. There's a lot of paperwork. There's a lot of you got to get signatures. Even at the local level, you got to get 25 signatures in a tiny little town of 150. So. It is. I think it really just should be. I sign up. I go in and I sign my name on a piece of paper that says I'm a candidate for X. Put me on the ballot, and that should be it. There should be nothing else to that. So, anyways, it's a there's so many things wrong with politics.
And I completely agree with you that, there really shouldn't be barriers for people to run in an election. I want to see Joe Schmo run in an election. You know what I mean? Because I feel like Joe Schmo is going to have some better ideas than a lot of these mainstream politicians right now, right? And, Canada's also a two-party system, and there's so many ways to do proportional representation. And I think that there's a lot of people in Canada and the US who want to see that happen here. And, it's funny because Justin Trudeau, our current prime minister, actually back in 2015, when he first got elected prime minister, he actually ran as, he had electoral reform as part of his platform, and he was saying that election was going to be the last one that happened under first past the post, and that future elections would be under some kind of proportional system, and it was going to be different. And he basically got elected on that promise. And as soon as he got elected, as soon as the Liberals got in, they just like dropped it and they didn't do anything with it. So for the first little while they had these like local like consultation events where you could go and you could like talk to somebody from Canada about, like, they would present different kinds of proportional voting systems, and they would just get people's opinions, and I guess that was like their way of trying to decide how to go about all of this, but nothing happened after that. It's like they did these consultations, and then once those were done, they just like dropped it from their platform. And I don't know if that's because it was all a joke and they were never intending to actually do it, and that was their chance to pull out of that part of the platform. But at the same time, I wonder how much of it's questionable, but I wonder like how much of it had to do with the actual feedback that they got, because I was very shocked when I showed up to those consultations and how many people were perfectly fine with first past the post and actually did not want to see electoral reform and were saying that we should just keep things how it is. And you know what I mean? So like, I wonder like how much of that, like, did they take those opinions and then use that as their excuse to just like not do anything with the electoral system?
Yeah, I think I think those people that defend the status quo are telling themselves that there's nothing wrong.
Yeah.
And honestly, if you really believe that, okay, but I don't think most people really believe that everything as it is okay. I think they're afraid. What they're afraid of is whoever the other side is. Whoever the other side is going to win, and then, you know, over the past 40, 50 years, I've been told that the other side wants to destroy me and my way of life. And I mean, and that's the high level generic of pretty much everywhere. You know, it's so this isn't just a United States thing. I see it in Britain, where they've got the same fight as we have become so bifurcated. It is that even there's not even any. It's hard. You can't even have political discussions anymore in mixed company. Like, if you don't know who is sitting around you, it's difficult to have a political discussion, because somebody's going to get offended, somebody's going to get mad, somebody's going to get, doesn't matter how much you're trying to actually have a discussion in good faith, somebody's going to take it the wrong way. And
that's totally true in Brazil. Totally true in Brazil. It's fascists against communists, and that's it.
Yeah, and most people aren't one or the other. That's the thing. Most people are not one or the other of those two things. And most people, it's somewhere in the middle. But yet we've become so afraid of the other side that well, I have to side with so and so. I have to side with I have to side with the fascists, or I have to side with the communists, because if I don't, then the other side will win, and that would destroy everything I believe in. And that's such a bad way of going about things. Where if you did have a proportional representation system, you might actually be able to get back to, I'm voting for something, because even if they may not be they might not have a majority, but if they get a seat, in Parliament or in the Congress, they'll at least have a voice in government. And they may not actually be able to do a whole lot, but then that's my person that they're going to negotiate with the other parties to be able to maybe get better language in legislation for that might be more my speed. So getting things to be a proportional representation is much better. I know that's where the pirate parties have gotten seats, is in proportional representation countries, and we're a long way from that. I can tell you that in the United States, we're a long way from it. And it stinks that somebody like Trudeau will run on a platform of reform and then, not do it, or not even really push it. And that's the other thing. I get an executive like a prime minister or a president. They only have so much power to do certain things, but if they're not even then, once they're elected, if they don't even make it a priority, something that was a campaign promise, if they don't even make it a priority, I think you have a good idea there when you said, was it on purpose? Was it just to get elected?
Yeah, well, that's what it feels like. And that's what it feels like with these neoliberal politicians, right? Whether it's the Liberal Party in Canada or even the Democratic Party in the US, or at least the mainstream factions of those parties. Not saying there aren't good politicians in those parties, but it's there's definitely this kind of establishment in these bigger parties too. Like the Clintons and the Obamas, and then you got the Trudeaus and these camps of people. It's I feel like they know what to say to make people want to vote for them. I think they know how to play on people's hardships and emotions and all of these, everything that's bothering people and worrying people about just living their lives, right? Just being able to survive with the cost of living and all of that. And I think that they know how to talk about those things in a way that makes people feel like they're good, they're there for you and they're going to help you, and you have to elect them, because they're going to support you, unlike that other mainstream politician from the other party, and yeah, I think they know how to do that. I think they're very good at doing that. And I believe personally, it's just my opinion, not stating it as a fact or anything, but I personally believe that it is intentional to get votes and to get support. And then once these people actually get elected, then they're kind of, more often than not, they don't actually have any intention of implementing any of the things they talked about or doing anything to support the people that they claim to support, right? They're not actually going to do anything for you. They just know how to talk as if they are so that they can get elected. And then once they're elected, that's it. And we see that a lot with the Liberal Party over here. And it's already starting again, because we have an election in 2025. So it's we got time. You guys have yours coming up very, very soon. Ours is next year, but it's already being talked about, right? The parties are already preparing. There's already the organizing and stuff happening. And it's we see it all the time.
The election cycle is getting longer and longer.
Yeah.
The ads start. So in my local county here in Pennsylvania, 2 days after one of the elections recently, there was a former county commissioner who wanted to run again, was running ads 2 days after the previous election.
Oh my God.
So he was 360 days before the election was already running ads on the local radio. So and I see people talk about house seats because they're 2-year seats, that they're saying well, your re-election cycle never stops, so they're always fundraising and they're always on a re-election campaign. And that's probably why nothing can get done.
Yeah.
Because you're always beholden to donors. You're always constantly beholden to donors to get your money, to get those ads out there, to get your face out there, to get signs out there. And the re-election rate for House seats is stupidly high here in the United States. I don't know how it is in Canada, how often incumbents, or same in Brazil, how often incumbents, are easily reelected, whether they're terrible or not.
Yeah.
Um,
More often than not, like we have a little bit of a different structure. Like it's more like just we have like our federal election, and then we have, the provinces will have their elections at different times. But like typically, it's like every couple years there's like an election somewhere. So it's like federal elections next year. We just had the Ontario election like couple years ago. There's going to be another one not long after the federal election, and then I'm not sure about the other provinces, what their schedule is like currently for elections, but like it's like, yeah, there's always something. And it's you make a really good point about just like when you have constant elections happening, like the way that things are set up in the US. It's like people are like they're tied to their donors, and they're tied to whoever is like funding them, and yeah, like that's who they're tied to, not their constituents, not the people who are going out and voting for them. They they don't have time to actually focus on real issues, because it's just the whole thing is just about the process of getting elected. And it's like somebody said earlier about like the system like feeds itself, and it's like that's exactly like that's a really good example of like how it does that, right? It's just like the constant election cycle, the constant competition of like vote for me, not that other terrible person, and I'll do this and this and this, but then never actually doing anything because, oh shit, time for another election, reelect me even though I didn't do anything meaningful for you, and yeah, like it keeps people in that constant like voting mindset, and that constant like kind of us versus them mindset, which isn't always unjustified, right? If you're dealing with like far right people, then like, yeah, it is going to be us versus them to a degree, right? But like it's just that cycle of like never actually addressing the issues, never actually doing anything, not actually getting things done, not actually doing anything that's going to benefit the people who you're begging to vote for you every 2 years or 4 years or whatever.
and then when when they do something, it's a big corporate windfall for their donors.
Yeah.
I mean,
but they are against the system,
Yeah.
They are anti-establishment, like Trump. Well, what happened here is that in the local elections, sometimes you have the incumbents being able to be defeated, but we have this moral panic speech, against communists, against LGBT community, against the LGBT education. So we talk about things that are not even issues. Should trans kids be able to go to their bathroom of choose in a school? And that's not even a problem that we really have. But as we have a very conservative part of the population, we have this thing. We have a part of the evangelical movement participating in the election, and that's something that is just rushing in Brazil. It's getting worse and worse and worse, and we don't talk about issues. No, in the elections, we don't talk about issues. No, so it's the left accusing the right, the followers of Trump. No, that is Bolsonaro now, of being fascist, and there is the Bolsonaro saying that those other guys are communists and they are LGBT freaks that want to impose LGBT education for everybody. So we don't talk about issues anymore.
You know what? I think what you just said there, B, that there is so much echoing in the United States election right now, and I mean, I feel bad for you guys that you have something similar going on down there. That you're dealing with those same social conservative crap that wants to push these social issues that are not really political issues and shouldn't be political issues. I mean, we have and I'm sure you guys have it too. Probably the quote unquote men and women's sports argument. That's been a big deal. I mean, especially with the Olympics that we just had. with the boxer from where was she from?
Algeria.
Algeria, yeah.
Imani Khalif, yeah.
We have
Yeah.
a federal deputy. We have politicians here that post that, saying that she was a man. No, that's not true.
Mm-hmm.
And that
Yeah.
put her at such risk, right? When people spreading that, like, she's from Algeria, man. Like, that's not a place where you want to like accuse somebody of being trans or being gay or anything. Not that people should be assuming that about her or about, you know what I mean? Like, you just shouldn't assume things about people, but because she like appeared more masculine, people started like saying all these things, and you know, like it's like, not only is it just like fucking rude to like be, you know, like speculating that kind of stuff about people, not that there's anything wrong if she was trans or gay or whatever, right? Like, not that that's like bad if that is who she is, right? Or who she, like, if she was trans, but like, it just, like, the fact that people were making those accusations as a way to like insult her and belittle her and downplay her victory and say that her victory was not legit because she's a man. You know what I mean? Like, that's where the problem is. And especially with her being Algerian, like, that's not, you know, like that's putting her at risk, you know, when you like associate her with that label. And so people were really out of line with saying that to begin with, but it's just like, it's just unbelievable how people don't even think about that stuff, right? And in Canada, we have a lot of the same discourse with, like, you know, like, just like the attacks on trans kids and trans athletes, and this, like, you know, stupid conversation about like what is a woman and all that bullshit, you know what I mean? Like, we have the same thing here, unfortunately, and like it's just horrendous. And like, these people don't even understand what they're doing half the time, you know what I mean? Like, they don't even understand what they're talking about, first of all. Like, they don't even have their facts straight as far as talking about, like, for example, they try to claim that in Canada anybody can go and get gender confirmation surgery and it's easy, and like, you know, any you know, that they're like doing surgeries on kids and stuff, and like they're saying all these things that are just not true, because, you know, if you look at, I mean, if you know people who have actually been through the process, you know, like I have friends who have actually been through that process, and it's a very like long and complicated process where you got to talk to multiple doctors, psychiatrists, like social workers. It's like, you know, like it's a long process. It's not easy, and like, you know, people who have actually been through it will tell you that like it's absolutely not what these like stupid right wingers are saying it is. And they're just, you know, so it's like, not only are they spreading hate, not only are they just spreading like horrible bigotry, it's like they don't even have their facts straight about what's happening and what the situation is. And it's just unbelievable that they just do this, and it's just like, now it's part of the mainstream like political discourse, when it shouldn't even be. It's like you were saying, like, it shouldn't even be a political issue. Right? It's a human rights issue. Like, it shouldn't even be a thing that's like, you know, the politicians are making a thing out of.
Go ahead, B.
Here, that's used like a way to do not talk about issues, because you have poor people that there are no public politics for those persons, for give them access, for make their lives better. But those persons, they are very conservative. So if you talk to them that the government wants to give the right to choose to their kids, and they want to do any kind of education in the schools for kids, like that trans people exist and trans people must be respected as anyone else, what they are going to say is that that's the left, the left trying to make your kids gays and trans. And that's the discussion. And all the discussion is about that, and public politics, public financing, better schools, better universities, better roads. That's not discussed.
It's the same situation here, B, and like with people just saying like, "Oh, it's the radical left indoctrinating your kids and turning them transgender." Like, it's just ridiculous. Like, it would be
Turning the
laughable.
frogs gay.
Yeah, literally. Like, it would be laughable. Like, it would be funny if it wasn't actually causing harm. You know what I mean? Like, just the stupidity of it. Like, I'd be laughing at it if it wasn't actually harming people. But like,
Yeah,
it's
people
actually,
believe it. That's the thing.
yeah,
People believe it, just like people believe that Haitians in Ohio are eating dogs and cats, just
Good Lord.
because. I mean, it's insane that this insanity of, I can't tell you, every year before school starts around here, I see multiple people keep bringing up this rumor about how the what a certain it's just a random certain local school is putting in litter boxes for the kids that identify as cats, and it's completely, I mean, it's ridiculous, but people believe it.
Yeah.
People will come up to me and say, did you hear about the such and such district putting in the litter boxes? That's not true. Oh my God,
Oh
that's
my
not true.
God.
Why you believe this stuff? They believe this stuff because they keep hearing stuff that has a grain of truth to it, and then
Yeah.
they look it up and they're like, "Oh yeah, see, that did happen." But then they hear the same. They see these other ridiculous things: the eating the dogs and cats, the litter boxes in the schools, and they just buy it hook, line, and sinker. And and that just goes to the misinformation, disinformation that is completely exploded on social media. I mean, these people that buy everything, as long as it comes from their chosen influencer, how do you even combat that? These
Yeah.
people I mean, they're living in a completely different reality from the one that I live in. So, I mean, I think we're seeing a lot of the same stuff here all across the Americas. I think we're seeing a lot of the same bullshit. And
yeah.
I mean, I'd love to hear anybody out there in YouTube land. If you have a way that we can actually combat this crap, bring it up, bring it along, because I don't know what to do with this. The logic has gone out the window. And it's just preying on fear that my lifestyle is about to be destroyed,
Yeah.
or my kids, my kids' lives are about to be destroyed because some policy somewhere, and it's just insane. So,
It's classic divide and conquer.
it
Yeah.
is.
It is.
Because if we all sit down and realize what we all have in common and realize what the common factor that is the root cause of our problems, we'd be addressing it. But of course, the powers that be can't allow that. So please look at a oppressed minority group where they are to blame. And then you get two causes. You get a group that blames them and a group that goes to their defense. And then, like, for the Algerian boxer, which, forgive me, I can't remember her name, but I don't even think someone said like she was intersex, has XY chromosomes, and that ended up not even being true.
No, and you know who perpetuated that? It was like, wasn't it like
The boxing federation, wasn't it?
yeah, because she won against, and like they got ties to Russia apparently. Like, yeah. Like I can't give you the full like details about that, but that's what I've heard is that there's ties to Russia there, and yeah, Imani Khalif. Yep. So what I heard was like she like ended up beating a Russian boxer like in one of her competitions, and then after that they like the with boxing federation, is it?
I
don't know the name of
remember
the exact organization, but it's like the Russian tide like boxing league or whatever, and it's like she won against a Russian boxer, and so that's when they started they started this rumor, and it just like it spread, and like that's my understanding of what happened to her and why this is even a thing. Like it shouldn't even be like part of the discussion, but it
and like on top of like the Russian disinformation, right? You then get again, the two camps of those that just believe it, but then there's those that defend. And even though these are good-natured people and were well-meaning and said it doesn't matter if she's intersex, she was raised a woman and she is female anatomy, it's like, but you're perpetuating disinformation, whether you realize it or not.
Yeah.
You're repeating something that isn't true, and it is further putting her life in danger because, like you said, we can't pretend Algeria is the poster child of LGBT rights in the world.
Yeah, exactly.
It puts her life in danger.
Yeah.
And it further exemplified by the fact that after everything was over, she did her whole makeover thing, and she was trying to present herself as feminine as possible.
Yeah.
You know, and that's sad. You know,
Yeah.
she didn't have to
I
do
mean,
that.
like, it's like, that happened because of what people were saying about her. And it's heartbreaking because, like, she, I mean, if she wanted the makeover, that's one thing. It's like, honey, you look great regardless, but like, it's like, that she probably,
medal.
What's that?
Sorry. No, she won a gold Olympic medal.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's like, that should be it, right? That should be all that people focus on is her boxing and just like the fact that she's a badass boxer from Algeria, like that should be it. That should be like all that gets talked about with her. But unfortunately it's this whole other thing. And like, that makeover was like, it's like, if she wanted it, then that's one thing, but it's just, it happened because of like these accusations with her, people saying she's a man and saying all like this and that about her. And
and the other thing is like, if you're an athlete, I think the pressure to look good is ridiculous. Like, you don't have to be handsome or pretty to be an athlete. You just have to be good at your sport. And I think that's, I mean, the pressure on that, and this whole trans thing, with foreign athletes especially. I mean, it goes back a long ways. Now, nobody believed it really when they used to talk about the East German women weightlifters. It was sort of like, well, they're on all kinds of hormones and everything, and there was some truth to the drug side of things, the performance enhancing drugs, but I don't think any of those women were actually trans or actually men underneath, So this whole thing, this again is stuff that shouldn't be political, but becomes political, just letting people be themselves and live their lives. Like that people living their lives should not be political issues. Go ahead, B. You got.
Here in Brazil, what we had in the last government was that the minister that was a woman, she the minister of human rights, she said when she assumed the ministry that now girls will use pink and boys are going to use blue, and that was in her speech for you to be able to understand the kind of problem that we have here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think we're seeing that all three of our countries have a lot in common. We have a lot of the same political issues, a lot of the same political divide. How we get there is a little bit different. Obviously we each have our own election issues, but we see similar issues there. We see that, it's still a barrier to entry. It's still, keeping third parties out, or people that are unknown out. And I mean, to talk like a pirate is to talk for reform and egalitarianism and letting people live their lives, man. It's just, I don't see why is it such a problem to let people just live their lives. So
absolutely.
We're coming up on I should probably reset the stream, or we should wind it up or wind it down. I think we're at like 2 hours and 15 minutes. So
Yeah, well, I should take off anyway because I got to work this afternoon, unfortunately.
Well,
but this was a lot of fun, and thank you guys for doing this and
yeah,
for having
absolutely.
me on. And yeah, this was wonderful. I loved having my morning coffee with you guys on Talk
Well,
Like a Pirate Day.
thank you both for joining us. B, thank you for joining us. I think we might be able to do this again. We might be able to make this maybe we can make this a monthly thing. I don't know if that's too much. Is that too much?
I definitely, at the minimum, I'm already planning Pirate Week 25.
Okay.
I would like we had camera walks the last 3 days. That was obviously Talk Like a Pirate Day today, and Saturday we'll have a public domain live stream of a movie.
Nice.
Praxis. So if we want to have discussions like this monthly, I wouldn't mind it because I think getting the opportunity to get pirates together and just discuss like this, it's always good, and especially that we have just this platform. We're live streaming this to YouTube, and this is kind of like this is the group from the Pan American Pirate Initiative that we have, because again, Pan Americanism is a part of the U.S. platform that we want closer connections with the countries of the American continent. So I appreciate having you guys come in. This is and I appreciate all the work that Pirates Worldwide do, especially in Europe where they found the most success. But to me, this feels more like home. Especially hearing the three countries are all facing very similar, near identical situations.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so let's work together here, because clearly we're all dealing with the same thing.
We are. I think we really are. I think that's the one thing I've learned, especially from B down in Brazil, like to see that, you're not really, you're facing the same issues that we are here. I mean, in a slight, obviously in your own way, but, and so, yeah, it's definitely been a learning experience for me hearing from both of you guys and your experiences and seeing that the deck is stacked against us in very similar ways, and the fight is similar. So, I mean, it's been amazing to have you both here. Mitch, thank you for getting this whole thing started today. I appreciate it. I appreciate all you guys. So I think Mitch, do you want to deliver the line?
Sure thing. I just want to let everyone know that if purchasing isn't ownership, then piracy isn't theft.
There we go. There we go. And get out there and vote pirate in every country. Vote pirate in every country around the world. Let's make this a pirate utopia. And yeah, thank you all for joining us. We will be back soon with a format like this again. I don't know when, but it'll be soon. All right, guys. Thank you so much. And I'm gonna kill the stream.